Resolutions for final passage here in the contract proposal here. Would you start with R93, please?
R93 is an authorization for a contract with Triad Advisory Services in the amount of $44,550 for professional and community development planning to prepare the city's 5-year consolidated plan for federal grant programs for 2 bidders. And the contract term commences with full execution and it'll cease the end of 2019.
Thank you very much, and I see we have 3 members of the administration here ready to talk, so whoever wants to go first, go for it. I will have Ms. Erica start.
Good evening. This was done as RFP 2018-06. This was an RFP. The committee consisted of 5 evaluation committee members. They evaluated the proposals based on 4 different criteria. We received 2 responses. The committee conducted both technical and cost evaluations, and the committee is recommending award to Triad.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from council? Mr. Hanlon, we get it on the iPad. Join the meeting.
We have.
Would you do a hold it, cut the cord?
I mean, I just trust this if it works. Mine?
All right, we'll continue moving, but anyhow, questions from council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinson?
thank you very much. So I just have a couple quick questions here. As to, first of all, is what, I just give them because they're all related. What will the plan encompass and how will it relate to the comprehensive plan? Consolidated, excuse me.
You're right, it is a consolidated plan,
Yes.
but it is going to be linked with the comprehensive plan. The consolidated plan, the 5-year, this is HUD requirement. You guys see this every year. But what we're trying to do is tie it in. So with the consolidated plan, it talks about how we're going to be spending the HUD dollars. And when we're spending the HUD dollars, we're talking the CDBG and home funds. We're trying to connect it to make sure that it ties in with the comprehensive plan as well.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Leitner. So this is going to be, is this project going to be complete prior to the comprehensive plan complete, or are they going to be done together so that they're complete at the same time?
They'll be done together, but this one will be submitted prior to the comp plan.
Excellent. And when, this is, you said it's a 5-year plan that we have to do?
Correct.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Anybody else from council? From the public? Mr. Hirschman?
You heard before fighting North go around on time. My question is, in this past audit we did, how to finding that, the vendors were not questioned if they were suspended or debarred, but this is not attorney-client contract. But in the contract, in your bid notice, did you ask them if they were ever suspended? This was one of our findings in our audit last year that, you should be asking that question.
So we do a debarment search on all the vendors that are recommended for award prior to bringing them here. So if they get to this point, they pass through all the checks that we do on them. That's the political contribution check, that's the debarment check. They already made it through those checks on all those if they get to this point that we're at here
In other
tonight.
words, this audit finding was before you became person.
I would
Because they had the findings for that, the question was.
we do ask that, and we do run those checks prior to all of them being brought here.
South Alabama. I have a question. Can't we do this work in-house as you as a new director with your experience?
We have always done the consolidated plan, sourced it out. We have talked about maybe at the next one that we should look at doing it, but again, just taking the seat, having a new HUD's grant manager, we have an entire new team. So I didn't want to try to take this on with the consolidated plan, the comprehensive plan. We have 3 different plans going on at the same time, so I don't want to try to conquer that at the same time. But in the future, we will look at doing that.
I guess what I'm looking at is every department now gonna come in and wants another consultant to tell them what to do for 5 years. Is this where we go?
This has always been, I mean, this not, we haven't done anything new. I mean, the consolidated plan, the HUD consolidated plan has always been done as with a consultant. Since I've been here for the 10 years.
Who did the last 5-year consolidated plan?
That was our department, CED.
Department did?
Yeah. The last HUD grant manager and the last CED director.
So there's my point, okay.
And before that, and before that.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing no one. Mr. Hanlon?
Okay. Ms. Appa?
Yes.
Mr. Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Yes, 7 yeas.
Thank you very much. R94, please.
R94 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Basis International in the amount not to exceed $25,000 to create and maintain a CED plan website, develop and execute a social media strategy in conjunction with the CED plan, and work with the city and consultant on the plan, and the plan's social media strategy. There are 3 bidders. The contract again shall cease the end of 2019.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Remember whose committee this was in, Mr. Robinson, go ahead.
I don't think this was in any of the committees, but I do have a question very similar to the last one, Mr. Leitner, because I assume that these are related. Would be to the purpose of it and how it fits into the comprehensive plan.
Yes, the purpose of this contract as well is when we do the comprehensive plan, as you all know, we want to reach out to the community. So we're trying to use all different methods to reach out to the community. So we're gonna have public meetings as well as using social media, because we found out over the years when we do try to do community engagement, we may not have everyone that shows up. We have different times. So again, utilizing the new technology and utilizing what people are used to now, that we know that everyone walks around with a cell phone. So if we have the ability to put this on the website and have community engagement, we will get more of a feedback from the community on how we need to move forward with the comprehensive plan. Utilizing Lehigh Valley Faces, they're a local entity, they're from here, they have a pulse on the community, and utilizing them to help us in the engagement, I think is worth the amount of money we're spending on this.
And you sort of answered my next question already, which is, why did you contract this as opposed to trying to do it in-house? You sort of answered that already.
Well, there's a few reasons why, because again, they have a pulse on the community as well as understanding social media. On top of that, our IT department, as you all know, they don't have the time.
Right.
And again, they don't have that community engagement, which is what we need.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Leitner. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Ms. Moda?
I have seen the kind of work that Basis International do, and they're very professional. I know that the Hamilton restaurant, Hamilton Grill, they use them for many of the events, and it's always a full house. So I really believe that that it's extremely important that we hire, from within. When I say within, I mean now from the city, okay, and they live in Allentown, and I think that's a plus.
Right.
They're young, they know the media, and the reality is the main goal is we need to reach the community, because I have gone to many different events, and it's usually empty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moda. Anybody else from council? Seeing nobody, the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon?
Mr. Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko? President McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
President, 7 yeas.
Thank you very much. R95, please.
R95 is authorization for contract with Dan Koplish for consulting services for the Office of Compliance on issues relating to the Allentown Rivers for utility assistance, concessional lease agreement, system operations, and environmental regulations, including coordination and strategy development for issues relating to the EPA administrative order. Initial contract amount is estimated at $60,000 per year, $120,000 for 2 years, can be increased by amendment, and allows for 2 additional 1-year contracts, and there were 2 bids.
Administration?
This was done as RFP 2018-10. We did receive 2 responses. The RFP committee consisted of 4 evaluation committee members. The committee evaluated the proposals based off 5 different criterias. They conducted both technical and cost evaluations on the proposals, and they're recommending Couplish for award.
I think we've seen some of his work before too. Yeah. It's agreed.
Thank you. So, you have 2, the other ones, TNN Associates?
Correct.
And, I thought that Mr. Coppers had a contract with us already. So you have an existing contract with us?
He did, it's expiring.
So-
So then this goes out to replace the expiring contract, and it's open for evaluation for everybody, and then it just so happens that he's the one who's being recommended.
Okay, so it's up to 120,000, not to exceed 120,000 in 2 years. Okay, thank you.
It's agreed. Anybody else from council?
So that's $60,000 per year.
That's the budgeted, that's the budgeted amount, yes, sir.
Okay. What was he contracted for in the previous years?
The budgeted amount, it was 39.9, just under the initial bid for, it was a quoted bid. So we went to under the maximum of 40,000. If it helps you, we had done that twice, and we felt it was important to put this out for bid to a larger number of vendors to make sure that we were getting the best that we could for our money.
And I guess I'll defer at this time to our managing director that he feels who is the best.
I don't know of anyone else that you're gonna have the experience that Dan has, especially on this particular subject. There's no one else who's been as involved as deeply in dealing with the LCA lease agreement, other than maybe myself, and I haven't been involved in the last 5 years. I don't know where you would find anyone with that kind of experience.
Okay, and that's certainly important to us. All right, thank you.
Anybody else from council, Mr. Lee?
Yes, just a couple quick questions. What's the hourly rate he's charging us?
$90.
$90, okay. And, Mr. Messinger, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but all these types of different consulting things, the EPA, the environmental stuff, is it not possible for your department to consult with the city on that?
For those operations, no, we would not have the expertise for that in-house.
Okay. And this is on we're using him on an as-needed basis?
Yes, sir, time and materials, so only those projects that we feel it's necessary for him to work with us.
Okay, great, thanks.
Not a question, Mr. President, just in the interests of transparency and clarity, I just would like to state that Mr. Copplish is a personal friend of mine, and he and his wife have been friends for about 12 to 15 years. So I just felt I should put that out there in the interest of transparency.
And in spite of that, he still knows what he's doing.
Listen, anybody can make a bad choice, so.
Thank you. Just kidding, you know that. All right, anybody else from council? Anybody from the public?
Yeah, Lou Hirschman again. My question is, are we budgeting too much money? The way I understand this guy works for 4 or 5 hours a week. And you don't make 60 grand a year for that kind of work. So if we're running short of money this next coming year, maybe council should be reducing this amount from 120 maybe to 100,000. The guy only works 4 hours a week in the average. Times $90. But that's a little bit more than you guys, it's cheaper, you are pretty cheaper.
It's more than we get at council.
But I think maybe we're budgeting a little too much for this guy.
Well, that's the maximum. It can be less.
But if I'm still putting in a budget that reduces your unappropriated balance.
Correct.
And what we have to do is increase your unappropriated balance. I have no money to budget for other expenditures. So maybe if you look at this 120, reduce the contract to lower.
Well, I understand what you're saying a little bit.
But money is money, you know, we need it next year. You guys haven't made
This
no
is-
cuts for next year yet, or raising any?
Well, that's gonna be up to the gentleman sitting off to your
Well, I
left.
know, but you know, council really is the governing body of the city of Dallas.
We understand that, but this is a federally mandated,
It's mandated, but I'm saying this is too much. See, my concern is, I don't know if Mr. Copus was involved with the negotiation of this agreement, lease agreement.
yes.
He was involved.
Council hired him.
Okay, he was involved, so, okay. My concern is now, since he's involved, is he negotiating the reduction of the quarterly rate to a monthly rate? Or continuing a quarterly rate, is he part of this negotiation?
Yes, he's part of the team.
He's part of the team that's helping us with that.
Okay, so when Mr. Kovich gave an update one day on how the negotiations are going, I mean, people keep asking, are we gonna pay $156 more a year, or are we gonna stay where, nobody knows, everything's, it's a secret around here, it's a secret.
So I think at the time that it's appropriate, I think he will give an update, or someone will give you an update, but considering the fact that we potentially are in litigation, I don't think we can reveal everything.
So nothing has really been revealed. So in other words, you're gonna leave 120 grand in, right? So people around town just have to pay a little bit more, and what budget is it coming out of? Water and sewer, we have water and sewer numbers, so what budget are we financing this out of?
If I may, we have two funding sources. One is the compliance operating budget, and the other is the AO escrow fund.
Okay, so in other words, pay more next year.
Anybody else from the public? Think nobody, Mr. Hanlon.
The contract with Mr. Coppledge, Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Ms. Moda,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Ms. Zappa,
Yes.
and Mr. Joseph. Spread that 17.
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. R95, please.
R95P is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Simone Collins for $1,500 to create a rendering / photo simulation of the proposed streetscape improvements as outlined in the city's application to the Pennsylvania DCD grant.
Okay.
This is a contract for $1,500, and so because of the dollar amount, only one quote is required for the dollar amount of the contract.
Okay. It's pretty self-explanatory what they're going to be doing. So, any questions from council?
Has she worked for us doing this kind of rendering in the past?
Simone Collins has worked for the city in the past, not in the last 2 or 3 years, but they have worked for the city in the past. They're an excellent firm, and they can actually do the work within the 2-week period that we need the work done.
Thank you.
Anybody else from council? Anybody from the public? Seeing no one, Mr. Hanlon?
Ms. Moda,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko,
Yes.
Zappa,
Yes.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Lane.
Yes.
And that's 78.
Thank you very much. All right, the contract meeting is now adjourned. We're a couple minutes after 7, so we'll move into the city council meeting. Ready to start the city council meeting? Okay. Ready to start the city council meeting? We're going to have the invocation by Councilwoman Moto, and then please remain standing for the pledge to the flag.
A grand jury report launched by the former Attorney General has been released that relates to institutions that many of us in the community attend. I suggest that everyone takes the opportunity to read the report and that we take a moment of silence for the children that have been preyed upon, and that we do everything in our power to never let this happen to our children again. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Ephesians 5:11. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, for those of you who are first timers here at the city council meeting, we have courtesy of the floor is first. Courtesy of the floor is for items that are not going to be acted on or on the agenda tonight. So each person will have to say their name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak unless you represent an organization. Sir.
Hi, my name is Randy Beitler. I live on Poplar Street in Allentown, and I'm here to, I talked to so many different people, and I just want to get an answer to my problem. It relates to my property. I had new neighbors that moved in beside me. They put a fence up. It appeared to be on my property. I went to zoning. They gave me block plans. I measured it off. I went to engineering. They gave me block plans. I hired a lawyer. He was asking for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, so finally I went and had my property surveyed. So now I know for sure that this fence is on my property, and I want to remove it, and I just want to make sure I am doing the right thing, because so far I'm trying to stay cool and not do anything to break the law. So my question is, and second of all, I did go to these neighbors and I asked them if we could measure this together, and they did it with me. And I proved to them that this fence is on my property. And the fence goes like this. They dug holes, the dirt's in my yard, they cut my trees, they damaged my property. And I guess my question is, now that the fence is on my property, whose fence is it? And can I take it down? Do I keep it? Do I give it back to them? That's where I was kind of stumped. I don't know what to do at this point.
I think people have taken all different directions, and if I may, I don't want to put you on the spot here because you haven't researched.
But this, again, definitely surveyed, and the fence is definitely on my property. It's 16 inches at the one end and 3 or 4 inches at the other end, because it goes like that. And then I had 2 beautiful pine trees in my backyard. They just took a hedge and ripped them all apart. Again, when the holes were dug, dirt's everywhere. It's making me crazy. And I'm hoping today I can just put this to an end. And then I'm probably gonna go to a magistrate's office. I want them to pay for all the damages that they created.
You might have to do that, but I think there's a couple of questions from
Oh,
council.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
I have a question. Doesn't zoning have to approve,
May I answer that? You do not need a permit for a 6-foot fence from your back step out to your end of your property line, and 3 feet in the front of your house. Well, that's another thing they did. They came in between the houses, which the rear of your yard is defined from when you walk out the back of your property. This is what I got from the lawyer for $500. The rear of your property is where you step out of your door to the end of your property. And they came up between the twins.
What's the address again?
905 South Poplar Street.
North Poplar.
South.
The 4 Patriots were.
Patriots is in my backyard.
good question. We'll have to,
So, Mr. President, if you could, take, Mr. Brightman's information, his phone number, that would be okay with council, we'll look into it more.
sure, I think that's a great idea. If you would step over here and give your information to Mr. Hanneman, the city solicitor's office will research that for you.
I also want to say, I did go to these neighbors and I told them that I had it surveyed, I showed them the pins in the yards, and they just gave me attitude. And, I just feel now that if it's my property, I should be able to take it down, isn't that so?
You would think so, but let them research it, because we, things in law.
I have my chainsaw in my trunk, ready to go home. I've been served so far, but it's a month and a half of just zoning, engineering, and calling the mayor's office. They're telling me this is a neighbor dispute. To me, this is not a dispute, this is trespassing. I have no trespassing signs there. They come on my property and just feel free to do whatever the hell they, oh, I'm sorry, whatever they want to do. I'm sure all of you would not like that done to your property. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry, I get hyped, I get crazy.
It doesn't show. The city solicitor's office will get you an answer. If it were me, I wouldn't come here and ask.
The thing is, these lawyers, now my lawyer wants another $500 from me. I'm like, where am I supposed to get all this money? I've called so many different departments in the city. Actually, the council was the best that helped me. I called the mayor's office, I called the police, I called them, they just kept referring me from one to another for the last week.
I've never heard your name until tonight.
I swear,
Okay, I'm not gonna argue
you
with
didn't
you,
do what
but
I care.
I would call you back immediately.
Your secretary told me that she referred me as a neighbor dispute.
Well, it's a simple suit, but I'm not gonna go into that. But
No,
we'll help you.
no, sir, I did, I called 2 or 3 times and.
I'll talk to my secretary.
Mr. Biden, you've got every department, every department here, just, in the city just heard you tonight, so we'll get you an answer from the solicitor.
I just don't want you to take on mine. Name, address, phone number.
Yes, and just leave it on there. Mrs. Ketchum.
Janet Cashel, Walmart Street, Allentown. First of all, like him, a lot of people are having trouble with new neighbors moving into the neighborhood. My brother lives on Halsted Street. He lived there for 35 years. He has his house up for sale because of the new neighbors. The police have been called for numerous reports. The police come, do their job, but as soon as the police leave, it's back to the same old crap. They do what they want. So my brother is close to my age, and he can't handle it anymore, so he just put his house up for sale. Another person I know on Onmore Street, she's putting her house up for sale. Dave and I are considering it. I mean, so many people are leaving Allentown with the new neighbors that just do not comply with the laws and the rules. I mean, these kids riding the bicycles, we almost hit them the other day leaving, I forget, we were coming down Hamilton, for Officer Roselli, we were there, and these kids just go through red lights with the bicycles. They stop traffic that's coming the opposite way, and these people put their brakes on so they don't hit them. I hit them, I'm sorry, but that's me. Also, 134 West Montgomery Street, I've been complaining about it for months and months and months. It's a rental. These people work on cars continuously. Finally, somebody, I don't remember who, but they went over, they put a post on their front door. I don't know what the post or the notice was, but they stopped working on cars. But now they started doing it just on weekends. And guess what? Nobody's working on weekends. 134 West Montgomery Street. It is a rental. The owner lives in New Jersey. He has the name of the house in his daughter's name. if we could just get a hold of Ivan, I'm sure he does not know what's going on. And we feel it's a bunch of men that rented the house now because there's like 5 different cars parked over there and you don't see any women. And my one neighbor believes they rent the house just to use the garage. Because, okay, it's on their own property, they're not doing it on the street, but guess what? It's different cars all the time. You can't tell me you have all those friends and family that they're working on cars. It is a fly-by-night garage. And I have a friend who has a repair shop. And he's getting disgusted. He says, how are they getting away with it? I said, you know, I don't, it's, the whole city's going to kaput. It's, I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Even though code and zoning aren't working on the weekends, I mean, we still have
Exactly.
PSA captains that should be able to work on this problem with you and the chief. is
Well, I
sitting
call
here.
and they do say, when there's an officer, they will
Well,
come.
something like that, I think the PSA captain needs to get involved, and I think Chief Alslavin is sitting right there, that he's got both addresses. Well, I'm sorry, we didn't get the address on Halsted Street. What was the address on Halsted Street?
134 West Montgomery, so.
No, 134 West Montgomery is the south side, the garage, your brother on Halsted Street.
Oh,
You said he was having issues with the neighbors.
yes, yes.
That's,
His address is 890 North
890.
Halsted Street. I know police do go there, but these people don't care.
No, it's the neighbors got a rental or is it,
No, he owns the home. He owns the home, and now he has friends that come from New York and they party all hours. And my sister-in-law, my brother's like me, and she's afraid he's gonna get shot, so.
Here's what you do, Mrs. Cashel. This worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it worked for me. Buy a drone, fly it at night, so they can see it by their house, and they'll move out. They did. They moved out. They moved out. Remember Mike, I was telling you the problem I had? They moved out as soon as I bought the drone.
All right, okay, I have city council's permission.
Wait a minute.
No, I wasn't.
Absolutely.
I'll come over and show you how it works.
I'm gonna take you over there.
there you go. You solved that problem. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, we're city councilman control and also city finances. Problem is, we never get no answers here when we come to city council. My first question again, Mr. President, maybe get an answer from the finance director. A couple months ago, I asked about the police contract that was signed and the raise they got. When was the money transferred into the permanent wage account? Mr. Hartsel was going to get back to you, but he never got back to you. We transferred the money for the cover the wages.
I'm sorry.
In other words,
I didn't hear you said a police contract. Okay, I didn't hear that part. Yeah.
They signed a contract.
So when
The money's supposed to be transferred in to cover the
to
raises.
cover the raises, because they have to
But
be from
you
retroactive.
got back to
Right.
my question was, did they transfer the money in so we don't run short? Don't take too long, Mr. Hartsel. I'm gonna ask a couple more questions.
That's a yes or no answer, so I think we can answer that one real quick. Was money transferred?
I will certainly look inside all of our documentation, but anytime that something is passed by council, we meet the 10-day period for it to become ordinance, to become law, and then we go ahead and make the transfers appropriately.
Well, I didn't see it, I didn't, by law, you do it by ordinance, and I didn't see any ordinance reduced.
Okay, that the
If it's
transfer
over
would not happen
$5,000
by ordinance, the transfer would happen as a result of your ordinance, and then we would have made it by.
If it's over $5,000, Mr. President, you do it by ordinance, okay? I understand city law as well as Mr. Hartsel does. My second question is, the bonding, Mr. Hartsel promised about 6 months ago, he's gonna check on the bonding, because it was not in place to cover city employees. Did you pay for the bonding to cover city employees?
Yeah, about 6 months ago.
Okay, you did it, never, you were gonna report.
I actually did say that earlier, but yes, we got it covered.
Okay, and then my final question is maybe the mayor can give an update on Cedar Beach. Are we gonna be suing anybody? I mean, the beach is gonna be the pool's gonna be closed now, the way I hear. It's costing the city quite a bit of money. Are the taxpayers gonna eat the cost, or are we gonna be suing and cover some of the costs? Maybe the administration will give us an update on Cedar Beach.
I cannot address pending litigation at this time. In the future, I will.
In other words, Mr. President, we have to just wait. It's like all the stuff we wait. And wait.
Unfortunately,
Wait, and
sometimes
bang
we
it
do.
breaks.
Unfortunately, sometimes we do. And when it gets to litigation, yes.
Good evening, Glenn Hunsaker, South Allentown. A month or so ago, I think in 10th of July, we put together a little piece of paper on the, asking the city of Allentown for a special audit. We had some considerations presented to the city. Can we get a report on that, where we stand on this?
Sure. We will have a meeting, on Tuesday to discuss that. So it will be a meeting with the, Finance Committee, Mr. Hartzell, and, what's the guy we hired?
Jawan Kelly?
Yeah.
No. So, who's the third guy?
Mr. Beckett. He's the person that we hired to do the investment.
Oh, okay. Is this open to the public, or is this a closed meeting?
No, it's open to the public.
You gonna have it here?
Yep.
What time?
Is it 5:30?
31st at 5:30.
31st at 5:30?
Good evening, Don Gator, West Allentown. Mr. Zunkel, one question. Is that drone considered a city consultant?
Anything's for hire.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that. But getting back to the Cedar Beach thing, I stood up here how many times and asked you people to have some kind of berm put around that pool. Everybody ignored it, and here we are again with the pool not operable. Why can't people listen on city council, or why can't the city government listen to logic?
Okay. May I answer that? Because I asked the same question, Mr. Ringer. I felt very strongly that we should not have spent or built that pool, well, it was already built, so we spent all that money in a 500-year flood plan. It's probably 100 years. However, they assured me that they would put trenches around it. They did. I went over and saw them, okay? We went over, took a walk one day, it was raining like cats and dogs, but we went over and saw there were trenches around it, right around in the front. But I don't know what happened. It looks like they either didn't make them deep enough or too narrow, or the water just came from all over it. And then they assured me when they were doing it that it wasn't going to be flooded. It wasn't going to be, overflowed.
But we saw it was gonna be flooded, and it's been flooded.
I know, and I was very upset. Sent an email to my fellow council members about that because I specifically asked them that question. And they made me feel like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Wasn't this part of Ed's proposal, this pool? Wasn't he the one that pushed for this?
I don't want to comment on that.
Well, why didn't you city council people object to it? We were building a pool in a flood zone. Why didn't we move it?
Let me jump in here.
I told you why, because they said that it wasn't gonna flood it, they were gonna put trenches.
It was gonna.
That pool was started before most of us were on city council.
I agree with that.
And we were past the point of no return when we were getting hit with changes that had to be made. The walls weren't thick enough, the pumps weren't strong enough to pump the water the way it had to be pumped. So this was all part of the stuff that was already done, and we had to authorize the changes, but we were past the point of no return. So.
You're the reason, Roger.
Yep. I've been called worse. Anybody else for courtesy of the floor?
Good evening, my name is Grace Shahud and I live here in Allentown. The basic premise of our legal system is equal justice under the law. Those 4 words are engraved above the doors of the United States Supreme Court, and they're not to be taken lightly. I stand here before you this evening as a law student in her last year at Temple University, dismayed by the suggestion that an attorney should be dismissed for the actions, however abhorrent, of his clients.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
This is going to be on the agenda tonight, so you will have a chance to speak at the agenda.
I will then, thank you.
Thank you. I know it's not on there now, but trust me.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yep.
City Council, Louis Holzman from West Downtown, now South Downtown. Apologize for the dress. First off, wanted to thank all of you, I guess, for the trash can I requested. It's now there. It gets filled, and I do less bending over and picking up trash, which is awesome. So I bought the property, that's the property on South 8th Street in April of this past year. Clear CO, certificate of occupancy provided by the city. All is well, all is good. Go there, looking to do some work, try to do things the right way, and go get the permits and do all that fun jazz. Come to find out through, I think, building inspection, one of the departments upstairs, 5th floor, I believe. I'm speaking with Paul Bogart, that there are 3 expired permits on the property. Now, this is months after I'd already purchased the clear CO was put through. And so obviously that put up in a hole because what the inspector said versus what you guys have on file doesn't match up. And so now I can't do things the right way. And so I was in communication with him. This was in April, May, and then the last one was in June. Frankly, he just hasn't emailed me back yet. I'm sure it's crazy busy up there and it's a swamp. But I'm trying to, they weren't my permits, they were the previous owners, and I think from what I've seen on the itemized list, most of the work was either done or not even addressed. And so I don't know what needs to happen to make it legal and go through, but I would like that to happen. So
Address?
1001 South 8th Street. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. All right, thank you. Yeah, where is my? I'm kidding.
There's probably some things in these realities.
721 West Cumberland Street. The problem with Cedar Beach Pool always has been where it was located at. It was originally sand bottom, concrete lined. That's why it was called Cedar Beach. They built the pool, I think it was 1957, and that's when they went and raised Ott Street to its current location. There is a small dike between Ott Street and the pool. The easiest way that I see to go and prevent the flooding of the pool is to raise that dike to the same level as Ott Street, which very rarely floods, and also to extend it. Now, 2 years ago, Parks Department on the other side of the creek, by the picnic area, to allow the water to expand in that direction on the parking lot. But they need to address the dike by both making it higher and expanding it past the pool. And that will solve at least most of the flooding that occurs with the pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for courtesy of the floor? All right, seeing nobody. Mr. Hanlon, approval of minutes.
Common consent?
Yes. All right, old business. Old business?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Mr. Robinson.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to bring new business forward to this point in the agenda.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Anybody opposed? No? Motion passed. Go.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, under new business, I would like to make a motion. And I'm going to have specific language that I would like to read into. I make the following motion. Pursuant to the authority granted to City Council in the City Charter, Section 211B, Council hereby removes Tom Trout from the position of City Solicitor.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Okay. All right, discussion by council.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak on this.
Mr. Robinson, go ahead.
Thank you. First and foremost, there's just several passages from the public record of the grand jury report from yesterday that I'd like to read onto the record because I think they're relevant to our discussion. From page 25 of the grand jury report. On September 3rd, 2002, a fax was sent to Monsignors Schlert and Gobidas,
The fax bore the timestamp of 9:55 a.m. from Troud Law Offices. After some discussion regarding an attempt to schedule a meeting with Julianne, Troud reported that he had received information from a relative of Monsignor Leo Fink. This informant told the diocese that she had been the closest of friends with Julianne in high school and that they shared every secret. She reported that Julianne had once danced as a go-go dancer in the 1960s and that she believed her to be sexually active. Troud's informant stated that she believed it possible that Julianne was one of the girls who had an affair with a coach at Central Catholic. The informant reported that Julianne also had a family member once go to prison. Troud reported all of this to the diocese, specifically to Schlert and Gabaitis. He went on to note that he knew this informant well and that she had been, quote, so candid and honest, end quote. Having received a report that one of their priests had violated children, the diocese and its attorney immediately began to exchange information meant to discredit the victim with unrelated and irrelevant attacks on her and her family. Moreover, the fact that the information that a Central Catholic coach may have been sexually abusing students was used as evidence against the victim. In reality, it is the report of yet another crime not reported to the police. From page 28. On September 16th, 2002, at 2:48 p.m., a fax was sent from Troud Law Offices to Schlert and Gabaitis. The message contained impressions of the meeting on September 10th. Among other things, the memo noted that Tom Troud found Julianne to be overly dramatic in that there were quote, to be overly dramatic in that there were some times that she was crying in the meeting, end quote, and that, quote, this woman made an awful amount of assumptions that just were unwarranted, end quote. This pattern of investigating the victim continued through 2004 in letters from Troud dated January 22nd, 2004 and April 12th, 2002. In the first letter to Gabaitis and Schlert, Troud noted that Julianne was recently in the news and was pursuing her lawsuit and that he received information from a local attorney. The attorney told Troud that Julianne's daughter was a witness for the Commonwealth in a murder case. Troud noted that because Julianne became involved, she could either be, quote, a mother looking out for her child, or maybe this is a woman who repeatedly wants her 15 minutes of fame, end quote. In the second letter, Troud informed the diocese that Julianne's husband was associated with the Christian Motorcyclists Association, which Troud labeled the husband's brainchild. And this was in reference to Father Fromholzer with Central Catholic, and what has been in the news with Julianne Bortz as the victim in this. From page 374, in an issue regarding Father Soderlund, I believe that's the correct pronunciation. This was in 1987. Soderlund continued to minister even after the latest complaint. On April 28, 1987, the Good Samaritan Hospital administrator contacted the diocese, advising them that Soderlund was spending a lot of time with an 8-year-old boy. Soderlund had spent an hour talking to the boy on the telephone, saying that he wanted to take the boy on a trip to a museum. Good Samaritan officials wanted Soderlund to be fired. An excerpt taken from a transcription of handwritten report from Montone, that would be Monsignor Montone, who was leading the investigation, stated the following. I related all of the above to the diocesan attorney and asked for his recommendation. Much to my surprise, he recommended that the chaplain at Sacred Heart Hospital and Sutherland trade places. I tried to explain to him that that was not exactly the way things worked, that the chaplains are employees of the hospital, etc. He said that however that may be, Good Samaritan Hospital contributed significantly to Sutherland's problems. He said that they should have structured his day more fully and seen to it that his living accommodations were better supervised, etc. Montone added, if Sutherland lived at the rectory at Sacred Heart and, quote, the hospital held him more accountable for his time, there shouldn't be any problems, end quote. Montone responded to Troud's advice by telling the bishop, quote, also, if we do manage to place Sutherland after being fired by Good Samaritan, we will have an even harder time convincing the others we have no place for them, end quote. And this was in reference to a priest that 7 years earlier, the diocese had found 2 photographic albums containing him and 2 separate underage boys engaged in sexual acts, 7 years prior to this. The last thing that I would like to read into the record is from council's minutes from our confirmation hearing of Mr. Troud on May 2nd, 2018 at 5 p.m. Mr. Courtney Robinson thanked Mr. O'Connell and Attorney Troud for being here this evening. He thanked Attorney Traub for taking the time to speak with him earlier today. He asked Attorney Traub for a basic rundown of some of the work he has done for the diocese. Attorney Thomas Traub stated that, like most lawyers, the older you get, the more of an office practice you develop. He stated that once upon a time, he did litigation work, and that was gone by the year 2000. At that point, we had attorney, now Judge Leeson, representing the diocese for litigation matters going on currently. And because our minutes are not a true reflection of exactly what is said, I went back and observed the video, and at timestamp 9:30, the exact quote was, "But that was really all gone by the year 2000. At that point, we had Jay Leeson, now Judge Leeson, representing the diocese." As you can see from what was previously read into the record as part of the grand jury report, in 2002 and 2004, Attorney Traub was still doing litigation work concerning sexual assault issues in the diocese, contrary to what he told this body in his confirmation hearing. The only thing more that I would say to this is not a decision that I have taken lightly to bring this forward. I am a practicing Catholic, and I am disgusted, and I am appalled at what was done in the name of my faith. And here now, first and foremost, as a Catholic and as an elected official, I feel it necessary to apologize to every victim of this and to state that the unimaginable pain and sorrow that you're going through was only compounded from this, and I apologize to all of you for that. As someone who is a member of the church that did this to you, I think that needs to be said over and over and over. But most importantly, in result to the business in front of this council tonight and taking this unprecedented action, who we choose to have work for us is a statement of the values and the ideals that we hold. And for myself as a member of this body, and most importantly, as a citizen of Allentown, I do not believe that the words that were attributed to Attorney Traub in those letters and faxes and the conversation from Monsignor Montone represent anything that I, as a citizen or as a member of this body, want our attorney and legal advisor to represent. So in that vein, I would ask all of my colleagues to please vote yes on this motion. And let's finally move beyond the last several years of question about this city and how it runs. Let's make a statement of saying that we have a new day in Allentown, and something like this, on top of what we just went through with the corruption trial of the mayor and his associates, will not be stood for. Please vote yes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome, Mr. Robinson. Mr. Zuckel.
Yes. As elected officials, we have an obligation to the citizens we represent. Recently, there was a committee formed to explore and update the ethics code that exists within the city. By us not taking positive affirmative action tonight, just simply downgrades that if we do not do that. This is about ethics as well as about protection and about honesty and integrity. We have an obligation, as I said, as elected officials, to carry out that obligation to the citizens. So I would echo Mr. Robinson's comments to vote no, or vote yes to terminate him.
Ms. Mota?
The abuse have to stop, and we do have to take a stand. And you just have to stop. We have to protect our children. It is a shame that this happened, and I vote yes. Thank you.
Move to the other side. Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mr. President. I feel the same sentiments that Mr. Zucco, Ms. Mota, and Mr. Robinson expressed earlier, so I'm not going to be redundant, but I would also, as a member of council and as a practicing Catholic, apologize to the public, to everybody, all those victims and their family and friends that have been suffering from the action of some very bad people. And I don't condone having people who are related to those issues one way or another, either trying to defend the diocese or not, to be associated to defend us or to represent us in city council and in the city. So Mr. Zucco talked about integrity and honesty, and I will stand with that as well. So I'm very distraught about being a Catholic and having to see this for years and years now. And I think it's coming to our city, it's directly affecting us. And I would also recommend that my colleagues think about that and to vote yes on this motion that was brought forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief. I did not have an opportunity to read all the comments and the reports. I will say this as a father of 2 sons and having 4 grandchildren, there is nothing more important that we can do than protect our children. And unfortunately, that has not happened here. And I find it particularly disturbing to me. Thank you.
I understand the law states that an attorney is to do his best to defend his clients. But I'm sure every one of us have experienced bad taste in our mouth sometime, the way they do it. There's a line that you cross. Having our solicitor in the crosshairs of this, I don't feel is good for the city of Allentown. Especially since everything we've gone through for the last 3 years. I think it's in the best interest to vote yes to remove him.
Yeah, I guess it's down to me before we open it up to the public, but I'm expecting the young lady from Temple to elaborate on some of the stuff that's been set up here, but also the fact that, 40 years in the police department, I dealt with a lot of attorneys, prosecution attorneys, defense attorneys. Some I got along with, some I didn't, some we argued. And unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, there are a lot of people that get arrested that we may feel deep down inside that they really don't deserve an attorney or their day in court, but the fact is that they do, and that's part of what makes this country great. And we don't always agree with those attorneys, but their job is to put on the most rigorous defense that they can for the defendant. I'm in no way, shape, or form sticking up for anybody that is accused of molesting any of these children or young people that were involved in this incident. I am saying, though, that I believe Mr. Trout did what he felt he had to do to represent his client, which was the Diocese of Allentown. And whether we agree or we don't, that's what attorneys do. So, again, I'm not sticking up for any of the accused clergy who perpetrated any of these acts. I think a lot of them are gone, but I think those that aren't, it's just a shame that a lot of them can't be prosecuted. I wish that they could. Having said that, we'll open it up to the public.
Okay, can I make a statement?
Mr. Mayor, sure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Trout was acting in his role as counsel for the diocese, and like it or not, his concern was for his client. I expect that he laid out all the facts and he saw them and presented his clients with the best possible courses of action. Some attorneys do criminal defense work and defend bad people. That does not make them a bad person. That is their system of justice. They listen to their clients and they craft the best defense. In my opinion, and only in my opinion, this is a rush to judgment in my view. I know Tom Trout is a very good attorney, a very ethical and moral individual, and that he has represented this city well. I understand, counsel, what you have to do, but Tom Trout is a very good, solid man, a good ethical man, a man of integrity, a man of character. We were very fortunate to have Mr. Trout with us for the short term, if you choose to terminate him. I wish you would not terminate him. I think this is a rush to judgment, but you have to do what you have to do, and I will respect your decision.
Mr. President, I actually just wanted to respond in one way, not in a direct sense, but I would also state that when I contemplated doing this morning, it was solely based off of what was stated in the grand jury report. However, Upon further investigation today, another reason came up, and it is the last thing that I read into the record. That Attorney Trout stated to us that he discontinued litigation work for the diocese in the year 2000, yet the grand jury has documentary proof that he was working for them on litigation matters in 2002 and in 2004. Quite frankly, whether it was an intentional lie or not, it was a lie to this body during the confirmation hearing, and I don't think it is wise for us to continue with legal representation when we are not getting all of the facts straightforward and clearly from that attorney, regardless of the other issues in the grand jury report. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Affo, then I'll play devil's advocate. Go ahead.
I agree with Mr. Robinson. We just had a confirmation hearing this evening. Before Mr. Trout was up for confirmation, it was brought up, what happens if there is any dirt that comes out from this investigation, this grand jury investigation, and we confirm or hire this man, and after the investigation, if there's anything that comes out, that there's any dirt out there, or any way that he could be a detriment to our city because he was involved in it. So when we have these confirmation hearings, whether we ask the questions here or we ask the questions personally while we're interviewing someone, it is important for them to tell us the truth. This was something that was heavily discussed. If he was involved in this, he lied to us and said no. He said that he hadn't done any litigation after 2000. So when we interview people, when we ask them questions, and you, all the people out there, we're the ones that have to make the decision whether to hire them or not, for the better of Allentown. So when they lie to us and we do confirm them, and something like this comes up, it comes back at us. And that's why it's so important when we have the hearings that they tell us the truth.
Okay, then, and I'm hearing everybody, then why don't we do what the mayor said and not rush to judgment here and get Mr. Trout in and ask him what happened there.
Mr. President. Go ahead, Mr. Zucco.
Well, whether he didn't tell us all the facts or not, or did, the bottom line is still that he was part of a grand jury investigation that resulted in, or probably will result in, some guilty pleas. So,
And I understand that, but let's put things in proper context. He was representing the diocese.
I do understand.
He was not involved in this in any way, shape, or form, other than he was their attorney, giving them the best advice that he could at the time. So I'm playing devil's advocate here, I'm weighing both sides.
And I understand that, Mr. McLean. I will say to this, we have seen politicians, movie stars, business leaders be held accountable for actions and words that they stated to demean women 15, 20 years ago, over the last year. We've seen that happen, finally, thankfully. So the fact that in the first case of Ms. Sports, it was felt that it was appropriate to utilize information that was completely irrelevant to try and guilt someone into or embarrass someone into settling, to accuse a victim of the most heinous crimes any of us could imagine of being someone who was overly emotional or seeking their 15 minutes of fame. To me, that's just not someone that I want to represent us. There's no dispute. I would argue that Attorney Trout would not dispute that he wrote these documents. These were sentiments that were said about a potential victim. And in another case, in the late 1980s, he took a case in which there was crystal clear evidence that the diocese possessed that a priest was guilty of crimes previously, and that there was a chance that he could commit those crimes again. And he recommended, instead of dealing with that priest appropriately, just play a shell game, move from one hospital to the other, better supervision, that's fine. I don't necessarily think that you or Mr. Hendricks or Mr. Zuckel would have said that about a child rapist when you were on the force. And I certainly don't think that you would want a city solicitor who would have said that to you when you were on the force. So at the end of the day, I just believe that this is not the person that I want to represent me as a member of city council, and it's not, I don't want to receive legal advice on Lehigh County Authority and how we can embarrass them into settling. I don't want to receive legal advice with the Airport Authority on how we can embarrass them into settling. I want someone who represents the best of what we can achieve, not the worst. That's why I think that we need to vote on this tonight and send a clear message that this is not something that this body will tolerate. Thank you.
What would support you?
If I may.
We'll get to the public in a minute.
In light ways, I thought the same thing that you just said earlier. I said, you know, we have attorneys that are supposed to represent their clients. They're supposed to represent, you know, you could kill somebody and you need an attorney to represent them. But I started reading everything that you just read, so I don't want to recount everything. And I said to myself, I really don't feel comfortable having this person representing us. And I mean, child abuse is one of the most heinous crimes that you can see. And to have, you know, graphically, what they described, what the Attorney General, the State Attorney General described on one child, what they did to them. I mean, I wouldn't want to represent that. You know, saying, you know, trying to justify those issues to get somebody out of jail. And I just don't feel comfortable personally on that. And, you know, the other issue is, I think Mr. Trout had the opportunity to come over here and defend himself. He's not here tonight. He knew we had a meeting, he knew we were gonna talk about this, he chose not to come. I don't know what the reasons were, but he's not here to, and you know, what you said earlier, Mr. Robinson, was true. You did ask him those questions, and he chose not to tell us the truth. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's a child abuser. I'm just saying I don't feel comfortable having him represent me under these circumstances. And he will be representing council.
I would like to say that as a mother of three, this is horrible. You know, I was a social worker, and I remember that, you know, I was a social worker in Reading, and I had to deal with predators. And to be honest with you, I only lasted a week. I quit. As a mother of three, hearing those stories, and you know, I just couldn't. So I think that we all have a moral responsibility. You know, you have to know who you're representing. You have to stand for something. And knowing that his clients actually did it and put other kids in danger, I'm sorry. I mean, this is a no-brainer. You know, I think we should just vote right now and vote yes.
Unfortunately, I'm open to the public.
Okay.
But, and we will. I just wanted to make sure we were finished with the council before we did. And again, I just want to reiterate that he was the attorney defending him, and it's deplorable as the acts were. Attorneys do defend people who do deplorable acts, so.
And they have a moral responsibility of also declining, you know,
Well,
who they choose to defend.
okay, we'll open it up to the public. Mr. Mayor, anything else from you? Thank you. We'll open it up to the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now it's your turn.
I'm gonna put my notes down, just to speak to you directly. No child should ever sustain abuse. I'm also a mother. I'm also an advocate of children. But the sentiments here are misdirected. As attorneys, and I'm not one yet, but I am in my 4th year, so. As attorneys, our duty is zealous advocacy for our client, whoever that client is. We can't judge the person, the men and women who took positions in the public defender's office to defend child rapists and killers and drug dealers. We can't judge them for the actions of their clients. You are right, he could have declined defending or taking the diocese as their client, but it's our duty as attorneys, it's our duty as advocates to make sure that everyone have equal justice and equal access to the law. Justice is blind. Everyone has an opportunity to defend themselves. And everyone, our Constitution gives us a right to counsel. The Constitution gives us that right. That's why we live, that's why freedom, that's the liberty, justice. The attorney should never be judged for the deeds of their clients. I believe Mr. Trout, and I read the entire report. I spent hours yesterday reading, and I was hurt and I was distraught by some of the things in that report. But Mr. Trout was doing his job, and he should not, no attorney should ever be judged for the deeds of their clients. The justice system has never worked this way, and it shouldn't here tonight. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I respond to her comments?
No, we don't want to start getting into response.
No, all right.
Yeah, we'll just hold it till the end, we'll go through again.
All right.
Sorry.
Can I ask if there be no cameras to listen to this, what I want to say?
No. Can't do it. It's open. Yeah, it's open.
Well, I want to say something here. I was sexually abused 60 years ago, and I still think about it every day, okay? And the other thing here I want to say, I am personal friends with Bishop Schlerick, and it saddens me to see what's happened. And I actually took the bishop's picture this morning and tore it up, because I'm so disgusted over this thing. But I want to say one thing. Your city solicitor, Mr. Trout, still should have his day, that you can answer him, ask him questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? All right, Mr. Robinson.
Simply what I wanted to respond with, the young lady has some very relevant points and is correct in a lot of ways. However, I agree with you 100% that the Constitution guarantees the right to everyone to have an attorney. It also guarantees any client the right to fire that attorney for a reason that they feel is appropriate, which is exactly what I am recommending tonight. I am not holding Mr. Trout responsible for the actions of his clients. I'm holding him responsible for the words that he put down in defense of those clients for his actions. And I am stating here, and I hope that my fellow members of council stated as well, that those actions are unacceptable, and this is not a person that I choose to represent me, so I want this relationship to be terminated. So while as much as it does guarantee that everyone has the right to an attorney, it also guarantees that everyone has the right to terminate their attorney if they feel that they are not representative of the things that they need. I don't necessarily know if anyone in this body would be comfortable if we had an attorney who would have been brought up in a mob grand jury report, if they would have been brought up in a RICO grand jury report, or if our solicitor would have been brought up in the federal report for Mayor Pulaski. It's the same thing, and this is simply all that it is. So thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mr. Robinson, let's put things in proper perspective. He was brought up as representing the diocese. Now, you said about
Yes,
the
I
mob,
apologize if I didn't.
Let's not get.
What I'm saying is if they would have represented those people as well.
Okay.
And we would have seen a similar situation to this. And I apologize if that was unclear.
Right, as much, and I have 6 kids too and 2 grandchildren, and I spent 40 years in the police department, and I saw child molesters, and I saw people do despicable things, and I always question, how can somebody represent that person? But that's what makes our country great, the fact that they do have that representation.
And I agree wholeheartedly, it's how they represent the
And
client.
I had cases with Mr. Trout, and he was always above board and a gentleman, so I'm just throwing that out there. Anybody else from council?
Yes.
Yes.
I've known several women that have been raped and had to go to court. And it's not the fact that the attorney is defending them, it's disparaging the person that's there. Because it's the old, her skirt was short, what did she expect? And this is exactly what Mr. Trout was saying. She was a go-go girl, she was sexually active. Well, how many boys were molested and never once was it ever brought up that he was sexually active? Being a woman, I don't feel comfortable with someone that was, even in the defense of an attorney, what he has to do, I still think there's a line that you cross. And there are so many women out there that are even afraid to go to court because of what these defense attorneys will say and put them through.
Victimizing the victim all over and over and over again. We need to take a stand. We're dealing with children.
And I understand and I agree with that. I guess we're at the point of the vote.
Okay, this is on the motion to remove Mr. Trout from the position of city solicitor. Ms. Appa,
Yes.
Mr. Garidi,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Ms. Moda,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Emphatically, yes.
Mr. Zuko,
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
I'm gonna be yes.
Yes.
Yes. Wait, stop it, stop it. Stop it. Not an easy decision for this man. There was no clause in council chambers. We do make certain exceptions, but that's not one of them. All right. All right, we did old business, we did new business. Communication. Any communication? Seeing none. We have proclamations, and Mr. Zukel, since it was your, and sorry to have you guys wait, we could have taken this out of order, but you got a little bit of view of what happens in government, so that'll give you a 4.1 GPA. So, Mr. Zukel, you go ahead, take it from
All
there.
right, well, some of you know, a month and a half or so ago, the Morning Call did an article on 3 young ladies from Deer High School. Interesting enough, all from the Syrian community. Now, 2 of those young ladies are twins. Now, usually I have twins, so you have one good one and one bad one. That's all true. However, one of these young ladies of the twins was actually the valedictorian of Deer High School, which is incredible. And another lady, Claudia Bahar, right? Bahar? Yeah. Was actually the salutatorian. And she's actually also a member of the Syrian community. Now, the other interesting thing
Syrian
about...
American, Mr. Wu.
Syrian American, I'm sorry, sir. I'll give you the check back. Actually, Mr. Wavy is a member in good standing in the Syrian community. He's going to make a couple statements a little bit later. Claudia, as well as Yanar and Sanar, interesting enough, all 3 are going to Princeton University as a reward for their academic scholarship. We also have some members from the Deer alumni here. They're going to make a statement very shortly. I just want to say, Sonora, you and I actually have a lot in common. When I was in high school, I had a 5.0, but there was a minus sign in front of it. So if Mr. McCool would come up first and just make a quick statement, and then we'll get the girls to come up.
Good evening, Council. First, I want to thank Councilman Zukel for bringing this forward, and the rest of you for supporting it. My name is Michael McCool. I'm assistant principal at Louis C. Deer High School on the east side of Allentown. I'm very proud assistant principal tonight. I'm also very proud of the young ladies sitting here and their families. As a Syrian American from 2nd Street in Allentown, born and raised, that amplifies my pride tonight in these young ladies. And I want to recognize also and promote the need for a continued and strong partnership between the Allentown School District and the City of Allentown, because we are producing productive future civic leaders. The fact that these 3 young ladies are going to Princeton University from one high school is a statistical anomaly. I challenge anyone to find a single high school in the Lehigh Valley or even in the region who has 3 students accepted to a prestigious high institution like Princeton University, an Ivy League school, from one single school. It doesn't happen. It can't happen. Deerfield High School in the Allentown School District is making things happen, despite what popular beliefs may be. We are producing students who will give back to their community, who will come back to their community, be civic leaders and contributing members of our society, which is what we need. And so with that, I ask you to consider continuing promoting the partnership with you and our civic government, and also with our community business partners, to give our students more opportunities to achieve and to showcase their talents. These young ladies have exceeded all expectations, and they grew up right down the street. So this type of stuff doesn't get enough press, so I really want to highlight their accomplishments. I know that Councilman Zuckel, you have some of those things, but they've taken advantage of the dual enrollment partnerships that we have with LTRC, with other universities. They have scored 5s and 4s on AP exams. They have taken and maximized the amount of AP courses that they could take because they aspired to be leaders amongst their peers and within their community. So I thank you for this acknowledgement, this achievement, and beyond anything else, I congratulate Sinar, Yanar, and Claudia. You're beautiful inside and out. And I look forward to this just being the beginning to your future success. Congratulations, and thank you again.
Yes, and that was one of the first things when I brought it to President McLean's attention was, and his words were immediate. You always hear about all the bad things about the students, but you don't always hear about all the good things. So this was our opportunity to award these young ladies. And also, I don't want to forget mom and dad, because it starts with mom and dad. I'm sure you guys have been pretty tough to get them to that grade. So, Mr. Wade, if you could come forward, please, and just say a couple quick words, if you would, please, for the girls. Aziz?
Yeah,
I called you Mr. You're not used to that, I don't know.
You're giving too much respect.
Good evening. My name is Aziz Rabi. I'm the president of the Syrian American Iranian Charity Society. It's a great moment to see 3 ladies or 3 students from the Syrian American community making it to top universities in the United States. But it's a great job by the city councils to recognize and support the students. I think that's how we make America great again, and that's how we make Allentown great again, by supporting the students. May God bless you and continue the good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do now, quick, is I'm going to read Sinar's proclamation, and then Councilman Robinson's going to read Sinar's. Am I right? Yanar's. I'm sorry, Yanar's. And then Councilman Moda's going to read Claudia's. So if Sinar would come up front, please. Resolved by the Council of the City of Allentown that whereas Allentown City Council desires to recognize Deerfield High School graduate Sinar Bitar on Wednesday, August 15, 2018, when getting accepted into Princeton University. And whereas Syrian immigrants Sinar Bitar and her fraternal twin sister Yanar Bitar will be attending Princeton University. And whereas since academics were always strongly pushed in the Bitar household, Sinar Bitar maintained a grade point average of 5.587 and was Deer's valedictorian. And whereas Allentown City Council, whereas Sinar Bitar was in the National Honor Society, the Scholastic Scrimmage Team, student government, and was a part of the school's track team. And whereas Allentown City Council recognizes Sinar Bitar for striving for success, being driven and motivated to succeed. Now, therefore, Allentown City Council on Wednesday, August 15, 2018, does hereby recognize Sinar Bitar as we celebrate her achievement in being accepted to Princeton University and wishes her much success as she majors in physics.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zupan. I appreciate you for asking me to participate in this. As he said, this is something that we always hear about the problems, but never the great things. And to Mr. McCool, I'm expecting that you're now going to beat this, and next year we'll have 4 students going to Princeton. So we're going to put that challenge out there.
That's the trajectory we're on. Last year was 2, the year before that was 1. So.
See, this is we're starting a record here. So resolved by the Council of the City of Allentown that, whereas Allentown City Council desires to recognize Deerfield High School graduate Yanar Batar on Wednesday, August 15th, 2018, on getting accepted into Princeton University. And whereas Syrian immigrants Yanar Batar and her fraternal twin sister Sinar Batar will be attending Princeton University. And whereas since academics were always strongly pushed in the Batar household, Yanar Batar was in the National Honor Society, the Scholastic Scrimmage Team, and student government. And whereas Yanar Batar received a GPA of 5.2 while on the volleyball team. And whereas Allentown City Council recognizes Yanar Batar for striving for success, being driven and motivated to succeed, now therefore Allentown City Council on Wednesday, August 15th, 2018, does hereby recognize Yanar Batar as we celebrate her achievement in being accepted to Princeton University and wishes her much success as she majors in chemical engineering.
We have the parents stand up.
Now let's call Claudia. Now let's call Claudia Rabi. Okay. I am so excited. They're from Deerfield. I graduated from Deerfield. Okay. So this proclamation says, whereas Allentown City Council desires to recognize Deerfield High School graduate Claudia Rabi on Wednesday, August 15, 2018, on getting accepted into Princeton University, and whereas Claudia Rabi participated in the National Honor Society, National Art Honor Society, the Scholastic Scrimmage Team, Big Brothers Big Sister of America, and student government. And whereas Claudia Rabi graduated with a GPA of 5.5 and was the Deerfield salutatorian, and whereas Allentown City Council recognizes Claudia Rabi for striving for success, being driven and motivated to succeed. Now therefore, Allentown City Council on Wednesday, August 15, 2018, does hereby recognize Claudia Rabi as we celebrate her achievement in being accepted to Princeton University in Kokoro, and wishes her much success as she majored in molecular biology. Wow.
Okay, so as you can see, there are some positive things to city government as well. Thank you all three ladies for coming, and I wish you the best success. Mom and Dad, congratulations also on a job well done, Mr. McLean.
I was just gonna say, could the parents please stand up?
Yes.
Mr. President, I just want to say, since your daughters have now graduated, we'd love to enlist you to pick up some other kids in the system and shepherd them to the center.
Again, thank you all very much. Great achievement, great to happen in the Allentown public school system. But
Princeton is a good place to grow up.
Thank you.
little known fact, I went to Princeton too. I drove through. Yeah. I couldn't even stay that long.
Years before
I sell cigars. Okay, now we're moving on to reports from committees. Budget and Finance, Mr. Garidi.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. The Budget and Finance Committee has not had, actually, we had a meeting this evening and went over the flow chart, process flow chart for parking. And we said earlier that we'll have a meeting next, on the 31st. Actually, the meeting is on the 21st at 5:30 right here. So the meeting on the 21st, not the 31st. Okay? So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garidi. Community and Economic Development, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community Economic Development met this evening to consider one bill, which we forwarded favorably 3-0 to council, and will be on the agenda later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Human Resources Administration appointments, Ms. Zappa.
Thank you, Mr. President, Human Relations Administration. The committee has not met since the last council meeting. Next meeting is not yet scheduled.
Thank you very much. Parks and Recreation, Ms. Muda.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met this evening, and the next meeting is not scheduled. We only have one bill in the agenda, Bill 43, today.
Thank you very much. Public Safety, Mr. Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met this evening. The next committee meeting is not yet scheduled.
Thank you very much. Public Works, Mr. Zuko.
Yes, the committee met this evening with reference to Bill 52 regarding a $6,000 transfer to repair some road work over at the police academy. That was sent favorably to the council. Later, another meeting's not yet scheduled.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zuko. Rules Chambers, Intergovernmental Relations and Strategy, that's me. We have not met since the last meeting, and we have no future meeting planned. Okay, now we get to the most interesting part of the whole night, the Controller's Report, something I always look forward to.
I am terribly sorry to disappoint you, Mr. President. I'm not gonna have a report this evening, but,
It says Controller's Report right there.
I'm giving you part of the night off, sir. At the next council meeting, I do expect to have, the companion part to the process flow, that audit report done, and I expect to have at least 1 or 2 others done. So we'll have a full night, at the first meeting in September. Thank you.
Okay, I'll get over no report tonight, okay. Mr. Mayor. You have an administrative
I also
report.
go report this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Appointments. None, yeah. But maybe there's something snuck in there on me. Ordinances for final passage, Mr. Hanlon, Bill 43.
Bill 43 amends the capital fund budget, apply for supplemental appropriation, $7,500 from the Iron Big Charities in the city of Allentown to assist with the completion of the, and we want to just have that say, the skate park and care park.
Okay, anything from council?
Do we need to make that a formal amendment, Ms. Fruworth, or is that acceptable with the changes that say to Mr. Hanlon?
I think it's just in the title, I'm just making a change to the title.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anything from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon?
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes. Thank you very much. Bill 46, please.
Bill 46 amends the general fund budget by deleting a clerk 3 position at an A&M in the Bureau of Health and creating a community health specialist, a bilingual Spanish required position at a 12M to better serve citizens.
Anything from council?
Mr. President, this was in the CED committee this evening. Ms. Kistler stated that among the benefits of this, it will bring the number of bilingual speaking community health specialists up to a percentage roughly equal with our bilingual population. And also, most importantly, by changing this position from a clerk position to a community health specialist, clerical work can be given to the community health specialist, but a clerk cannot be asked to do community health specialist work. So this will also improve the efficiency in the Health Bureau. And it was reported favorably 3-0 for council.
Thank you very much,
If
Mr. Rupp.
I may say, I was not at the meeting, I couldn't make it to the meeting, but I
2-0.
fully support it.
I apologize. So now it's 3-0.
And just one more thing, Ms. Kistler approached me after the report. Instead of it being approximately $7,000, due to the, positioning of those positions, it's actually only gonna cost about $4,000, so we're another $3,000 ahead of the game.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zuko. Anybody else on council?
Well, it's worth it. I mean, it's to serve, you know, the community, and the reality is that for safety reasons, they really have to understand what it is that they need to do. So I think that, you know, I think that is needed, it's needed. It's important to communicate, especially in their own language. We have to think about the children that they're serving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mota. Anybody else on council? Seeing nobody, anybody from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon, vote.
Mr. Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Zappa?
Yes, and good luck tomorrow, Vicky.
Thank you.
You have 7 yeas and no nays.
Yeas and no nays.
Okay, thank you. Bill 47, please.
47 amends the general fund budget for supplemental appropriation of $2,525.85 as a result of disbursement from the Pennsylvania Emergency Medical Services Council from the state EMS operating funds for certain medical equipment.
Self-explanatory, but anybody from council? Mr. Hendricks?
Yeah, this is before the Public Safety Committee this evening, and it was moved with a federal recommendation, a unanimous favorable recommendation to the full body for voting on. This is money received from the tickets issued, the EMS $10 fee, which all tickets received.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from council? Anybody from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon, Bill 47.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
Mr. Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
President, 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hanlon. Bill 49, please.
Bill 49. Bill 49 amends the 2018 general fund budget, deleting the position of deputy director, HR 21N, budgeted at a salary of $103,350, and adding the position of director, HR 21A, at an annual salary of $107,500. This is one that needs an amendment.
Okay, the amendment is right on our agenda. Would anybody like to make that amendment? If not, I will certainly make it.
I'll make it.
Okay, Mr. Zuko. Oh, it's right on there.
Yeah. I move to amend the bill to read as follows. Amending the 2008 general fund budget, reallocating the salary of deputy director HR 21N at $103,350 to the new position of director of HR 21A.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody seconded it. Just pick somebody, Mr. Hanlon.
Oh, okay, but that's removed, that's the reading. We'll change those other verbiage on section 1 and section 2.
Okay. All right, anything else from anybody on council? Anybody in the public? Seeing nobody?
Okay, on the amendment, Ms. Mota,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Ms. Zappa,
Yes.
Mr. Greedy,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Mr. President, I have 7 yeas and no nays on the
On
amendment.
the amendment, okay, now we do the bill.
On the bill, Ms. Mota,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Ms. Zappa,
Yes.
Mr. Greedy,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Mr. President, I have 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hanlon. Now we're at Bill 50.
Bill 50 establishes Article 712 titled Consumer Fireworks, placing restrictions and regulations on fireworks between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And it was suggested that the 11 p.m. be changed to 10 p.m. and that section be added, mimicking the state law, basically that the fireworks need to stay 150 feet away from a residential unit. That amendment is
Amendment needs to be made, so how if I just make it? That we change the time to 10 p.m. instead of 11 p.m. and that basically coincides with the state law, which prohibits fireworks within 150 feet of a residence building.
And I'll second that.
However that has to be worded, residence building, however it's worded in the state law. Thank you. Yeah,
Chief, I'll second, is it residential structure or occupied structure?
Occupied structure.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so any discussion on council on the amendment, which is two parts? Any discussion from the public on the amendment, which is two parts? Seeing nobody, do you want to call the vote on the amendment?
Okay, on the amendment, Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Zappa.
Yes.
Mr. Greenie.
Yes.
Mr. Henricks.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
President St. and remains.
Thank you very much. Now, do you want to call a vote on Bill 50, please?
On the bill, Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett, we never had any debate or public comment on the actual bill. We went right into the amendment.
Anybody want to talk about the bill? Anybody in council want to talk about the bill?
I just want to echo the sentiments that I made in the public safety meeting. The reasons I sponsored this were self-explanatory, but I just want to state that just because we're passing this bill tonight, I don't want anyone to believe that this is not going to be a continual problem. This is a tool that we're giving to the police department to utilize to help in addition to the state law. There's two parts to that. Number one, as we stated by the 150-foot rule, there is no currently, you cannot set off fireworks within 150 feet of an occupied structure at any time during the day. So the reality is that that's an issue. This is giving an additional tool to the police department to use at night. But we are understaffed and the police are overworked. So it's going to be a while until we can get to a point where we have enough manpower between police and other departments to really go out and enforce these. So please, when this law goes into effect, don't expect that it's going to make sure everything's going to go away immediately, and that if you call in a complaint and you don't see an officer quickly, that they don't care, the law's not being enforced. They're getting to every call as quickly as they can, and I just want to state that so that there's no misconception that by just passing this ordinance, the problem's just going to go away. This is just an additional tool. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Anybody else in council? Anybody from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon on the bill. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Didn't jump up fast enough.
Next time you grab, yeah. Go ahead.
Glenn Keller, 2726 Farmer Street. I have absolutely no complaints with the bill whatsoever, but I would like a point of information if I could. With the 150-foot requirement, given the construction and occupancy rates and positions in the city, how much of the city does that actually leave available for the use of fireworks? And second off, how does this ordinance dovetail in with the existing noise ordinance, which has time provisions and decibel levels, which I think most fireworks would probably violate? So any response would be appreciated. Thanks.
Right, the 150 feet was added by amendment to the ordinance to coincide with the state law, which says that. And you're right, so basically you can't shoot them off anywhere in the city. But the noise ordinance is another beast that needs to be tackled. So this one's easy. Catch them shooting off the fireworks, we don't have to worry about the noise ordinance. Okay, sir. Thank you.
I actually just have one question I want to confirm with Mr. Worth and with Chief Slavin. Will this then coincide with the Disruptive Conduct Board, where this can be added to a Disruptive Conduct Board, or do we need to make additional language in the bill to allow that to be used?
I would have to defer to council on that.
Mr. Worth, do you have an idea on that, or? Okay, but it would be, if we would need to do that eventually, it would just be a quick fix, correct?
If somebody's drunk at disorderly, or at a rental unit, that it's automatic, so I would think, I mean.
So it should be
We'll get the
automatic?
official answer from the
Okay.
solicitor's office. but I
If
would
we could
think
just
yes.
get an answer, but I would agree with President McLean, I just want to make sure, because obviously we want this to be able to be used for the DCR issues. Thank you.
Can you repeat that question? What was the question?
The question was if this would also qualify under our disruptive conduct reports ordinance. So,
I mean, can I say something about that? Several years ago, they were setting off fireworks on 12th and June, and I called the police. And I requested a DCR, and they gave them a DCR.
Okay, great, thank you. It was a bad neighborhood. Okay, anybody else from the public? I guess now we can get to the vote on the bill.
On the bill, Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
And Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
There are 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you very much. Bill 52, please.
Bill 52 amends the general fund and risk management fund to provide for a transfer of $6,000 to the capital fund for repairs to the road and parking lot around the police academy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Zuppel, I believe this was in yours tonight?
Yes, it was sent favorably to the whole council.
All right, thank you very much. Anything, anybody else from council? Anybody from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon, vote please.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Zappa? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
There are 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you very much. Bill 54, please.
Bill 54 amends the 2018 risk management fund budget by transferring $500,000 from the unappropriated balance into account 44 to pay for legal fees and settlements that were not budgeted at the time of the 2018 budget preparation.
Okay, anything from council?
There was actually an amendment made during the committee meeting to increase this to $600,000 made by Mr. Zuppel, so I guess we would need to make that again.
Okay, it's one here, it looks like it's part of it. All right, well, we'll take the amendment first, correct? The amendment to increase it by $100,000.
Did you want to get it? Yeah, sure. Okay, amending the 2018 risk management fund budget by transferring $500,000 plus an additional $100,000 from the unappropriated balance into account 44 to pay for legal fees and settlements that were not budgeted at the time the 2018 budget was prepared.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion from council?
Just quick, how much money do we actually have in the appropriated balance? Did anybody tell you?
Mr. Hart's was clear.
Here I come to save the day. As of the end of 2017, within the CAFR, the available balance in the risk management fund was just under $2.7 million.
Amount of the unappropriated amount.
That would be the same thing, is that's available to be spent, and the unappropriated, we actually, I believe, appropriated a little bit less than we actually had planned to come in for revenue, so the number might even be a little bit bigger than that, but 2.7 million is safely said as the available balance to us at the end of 2017.
Okay, I guess my question is, where are we today? Do we know? Still the same?
There is one obviously risky area, which is that is the fund from which health insurance costs are made, and we've been spending at a higher rate to this point than that. I believe that at least one of you all had asked me about this, or someone had, about whether I thought that we could be risking the balance by going with this particular bill, and I think at $600,000, I'm not concerned about that given the other trends at this point.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing, if I may, the reason why I asked that question is because we have a couple of lawsuits, litigations going on, and we also have a couple of lawsuits that we've been sued that we are going to have to pay out. In the past, if I remember correctly, unappropriated balance was not always the risk fund balance. There were two different funds.
That's going a long time back when the risk fund was a separate fund.
Yeah. So that's why I asked that question. So that's okay. I mean, you feel comfortable, obviously, that we will have enough support.
Good, Mr. Green? Anybody else from council? Anybody from the public?
Okay, on the amendment, adding another 100,000 to the $500,000. Mr. McLean?
Yes, with my fingers crossed.
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
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 Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
And Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
Mr. President, I got 7 yeas and no nays on the amendment.
Thank you. Now on the bill. Any discussion from council? From the public? Seeing nobody.
Mr. McLean.
I'm gonna go first again. Yes.
Mr. Zappa.
Yes.
Mr. Grady.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
That's 7 days and no nays.
Thank you very much. Resolutions for final passage, R96, please.
R96 are certificates of appropriateness for work in the historic districts at 233 North 11th, 249 North 11th, 1601 Turner, 1106 West Liberty, and 43 North 17th. They're all certificates of appropriateness.
Okay, thank you. Anything from council? Since it's all on one bill, we'll do them all as one.
Okay.
Anything from the public? Seeing nothing, nobody? Okay, the vote, Mr. Hammond.
Mr. McLean. No, I'm kidding. Ms. Zappa. Ms. Zappa. Yes. Mr. Grady.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Now you call my name twice. I'm a yes.
R97, it authorizes the sale of police K-9 Fedor to his handler, Police Chief Davey House III.
Just like to make an amendment that it's not police chief yet.
Again, give me the opportunity. Police officer.
Okay, anything from council?
Yeah, what is the fee involved with that?
$1.
Oh.
Where are the dogs? Where are the dogs? That's why I'm here, I want to see the dogs. Especially Judge.
They're retired. They're
Yeah,
in Florida.
retired. Judge isn't retired though.
He's already there tomorrow.
Pardon me?
He'll be at the press conference tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Okay, anything else from council? Anything from the public? Seeing nobody, R97, please, Mr. Hammond.
Mr. Grady.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Zappa.
Yes.
All 7 days and no nays.
Thank you very much. R97A.
Our 97A authorizes the sale of police K-9 Canto to his handler, police officer Charlie Rocker.
Okay, anything from council?
It's Roca.
No. Anything from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hamlin, the vote, please.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Ms. Zappa.
Yes.
Mr. Greedy.
Yes.
7 days and no nays. Ms. Gall.
Thank you very much. R97B.
97B authorizes the sale of Judge to his handler, Fire Chief Lee Levon.
Anything from council?
I'm just curious, Mr. President, I'm glad we corrected that, because I was curious how much the city was going to get for Chief Laubach, since it's listed as sale of Laubach and Judge.
As you know, we always get more for the animals than we do for the people.
Absolutely, so we're thinking, what about 50 cents, maybe a quarter, so.
Go ahead, anything from council? We're just gonna just start blurting out tonight.
I actually
Anything from
just-
council? Go ahead.
In all seriousness, I do just want to say, with his retirement coming up, just thank you to Chief Laubach for all his years of service and especially his work with.
My mic's not on, just thank you to Chief Laubach for all his years of service with his retirement coming up, and especially the work that you've done the last few years with Judge. It's been a great thing for the city of Allentown, and I know you guys had an unbelievable record in terms of solving arson cases and everything else, and also your community involvement with teaching kids about fire safety. It was always great, and it made community meetings a lot more enjoyable when you guys showed up. So thank you for all your years of service, Chief.
Thank you.
Actually, did the arson rate go down because of the program?
56%.
Yeah.
Okay, I echo those sentiments, by the way, Lee.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
No, just
Zappa,
Yes, and you're gonna be missed.
Mr. Reedy.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
President, 7 yeas.
Thank you very much. R98, please.
R98 is the sewage planning module for the Allentown School District property at 1227 West Gordon Street. This just signifies that there's capacity.
I won't ask Mr. Messinger.
There's capacity.
Sewage expert in tonight. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody from council? Anybody from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon?
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zuber.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Zappa.
Yes.
Mr. Reedy.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
President, 7 yeas, majority yeas.
Thank you very much. R99, please.
R99 approves the application to the state early intervention plan.
Anything from council? Anything from the public? You were a little quicker on that one.
I tried harder. Glenn Keller, 2726 Furnace Street, Allentown also. And I'd like to know if there could possibly be an amendment made to the resolution requiring public notification or publication of the report within 30 days after its completion. Just because I guess thanks might possibly be due to whoever was responsible for making these reports public. The people that I've talked to didn't know about them. I didn't know about them until they showed up in the May 2nd and the June 15th meeting announcements and as attachments to the material dealing with this upcoming early intervention plan. And these are the paperwork from 2012, 2008, and 2005. And they appear to be in draft form, and you know, as drafts, they may or may not be open to public release. So again, you know, if they stay as drafts and if they remain in-house and nobody knows about them, what benefit are they to the community at large? So would such an amendment be considered? Thank you.
I would say this, that perhaps people that read the RFP could speak to this. So an RFP is included in this, and the RFP includes public comment, I think a public presentation by whoever we get the bid. So I think it's more than a presentation, just making it public.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, thanks.
So we don't need an amendment, then it's already part of it, right?
I think it's all part of the RFP.
Okay. Does that satisfy you, Mr. Keller?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anything from council? Anything from the public? Seeing nobody?
Mr. Zuber.
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Zappa.
Yes.
Mr. Reedy.
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
President, 7 yeas, no nays.
Thank you very much. R101, please.
R101 authorizes submission of an application to the United States Department of Justice, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice JAG Program, for a grant of $55,700. That can be used to support equipment, supplies, contractual support, training, technical assistance, and information systems for criminal justice.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything from council? Anything from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon?
Ms. Zappa.
Wait.
Trying to figure out with the man that had the paperwork, if the stuff that was brought up here, if it's in the report, or how can we like have any kind of transparency on any of the spending that.
This is discussion on resolution 101 here.
Yeah, I see it right here.
The Byrne grant.
Right.
It's to submit for it, we're not spending it, but
Yeah.
we're trying to gather money.
We're applying for a grant, that's all
You're
it is.
applying for a grant.
Right.
We apply-
I just want to read something, some research that I did.
Yeah, would you, your name for the record?
Eric Eschner.
Okay, thanks.
This was a report put out by President Obama in response to the Ferguson incident. It's a review presidential order. Between fiscal year 2009 and fiscal year 2014, the federal government provided nearly $18 billion federal funds and resources to support programs that provide equipment and tactical resources to state and local law enforcement agencies. The LEAs can acquire equipment through various programs administered by the Department of Justice, Defense, Homeland Security, Treasury, and the Office of National Drug Control Policy. Goes on to say that these multiple grant programs transfer an excess of equipment for the law enforcement agencies to obtain new equipment at a discounted price. And I suggest for anybody in the public to read this stuff, because the federal government is funding so much to our police departments to militarize them. And, you know, when I see proposals for spending that's being put out here, I'm gonna question it, you know. I've done a lot of research on police practice, protocol, everything like that, and it's very evident, it's very clear that the training needs to be changed. We need to start training our law enforcement officers different to react to.
Okay, I left you go, but because you weren't talking about Bill 101, but now you're going too far afield, okay? So if you have something specific on Bill 101, you have a minute and 24 seconds
I
left.
encourage the public to do your research and demand transparency for our police.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else from the public? Seeing nobody, Mr. Hanlon?
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
Mr. Reedy?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
That's the yeas and the nays.
Thank you very much. Ordinances for introduction, Bill 55.
Bill 55 is a rate into the risk management for $130,000 to account 80 for self-insured losses to pay for damage caused by the recent flooding and to continue to fix property damage through our self-insurance program.
Ms. Zappa, that will go to you.
All right.
Bill 56, please.
Bill 56 amends the Civil Service Board rules for police officers that were adopted pursuant to the provisions of Article 155 of the codified ordinances by revising the rules for application and qualifications for appointment of police officers and firefighters by revising the automatic disqualifiers for the hiring process, places the conditional offer of employment before the background investigation in the hiring process, and reinstates the thorough exam and the promotion testing process.
Time's up.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Hendricks?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Any comment on either Bill 55 or 56 from council or the public?
Just a quick comment, 55. As money for the police being transferred to unappropriated balance for insurance, self-insured losses, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what does that have to do with?
Why should that go,
Human
should that go to your?
I'm just trying to figure out what's the police rationale for
Yeah.
going to human resources.
I would say here's the rationale, because it comes from somebody that's in the Human Resources Department. That's where it comes from. So it comes from it comes from Mr. Nelson, who's in the Human Resources Department. So we always refer it to wherever it's coming from.
But I was thinking that it was going to do something with the human resources department, but it's really not. It's actually.
No, it's coming from a person.
Risk management.
Oh, it's coming from.
Yeah, risk management.
Jeff Nelson works in.
So it's going, it's coming out of human resources. Okay.
We'll all wind up voting on it anyhow, so.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out, like.
I'll gladly, I think Ms. Apple will gladly send it over to you.
Gladly, gladly got it.
Okay, all right, no comment from the public, I saw nobody. All right, new business, we did good and welfare, and I think Ms. Mona has something to say.
Yes, I would like to say that Promise Neighborhood of the Lehigh Valley, they're having a great event, a back-to-school event on August 25th. from 12 to 5. There's gonna be free book bags given to kids, free food, a lot of games, tons of activities, and I urge everyone to, to try to be there, to support our community. Okay? It's August 25th from 12 to 5, and the address is 1114 Hamilton Street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hammond. If you could keep that on our calendar, then, so we all can remember it.
Pastor Jesus event on the same day?
I have no idea, I just know that ours is gonna be August 25th.
You got your answer there. Okay.
I have an announcement too, the Gay Pride Festival, it's changed to JC Center because Cedar Beach has been. JCC, I'm sorry, because it's been washed out, Cedar Beach, so the festivities, I think, start at 12 o'clock.
Right.
12 to 6 could be it. So, that's the announcement.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for good and welfare? Anybody for adjournment? Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.